Well, hello there, my dear children of the apocalypse. How are we doing today? Welcome back to War Thunder Stories, Episode 1. Now, there's a couple of disclaimers we have to make. First and foremost, next week I am returning, standing in the corner of my room with a white shirt on. We're going to talk some more about self-improvement. But I decided that every once in a while I have to give you some of this juicy content which is more relevant to that which the character, the channel, the story of theOrangeDoom stands behind. And I thought, what better way to start than to go right back to the very beginning, to go right back to the very start where it all originated from. The story of how the name even came to be. And number two, we have to figure out what type of content to actually show here. Now, I spent some time thinking, would it be worth coming back and logging into a game, maybe even playing a match? Some people I know would be ecstatic at the sight of a custom lobby. For others, they would be completely satisfied with just sitting in the hangar doing nothing at all, or maybe watching duels between their favorite content creators. But I think there's something better we can show. I think there is something more relevant we can show. I think what we can do with this series is take a run down the path of history. All of us here, regardless of this channel, irrelevant of this channel, separate from this channel, we've all been brought together through different content creators, different sources. You know, names like The Mighty Jingles, Antac, Fly Daily, Squireflyer. All these people have content that has existed for years, still is on YouTube, and well, you can go and you can watch it right now. But I thought, why wouldn't we go and watch it together? Why wouldn't you go and combine the stories of the past with the footage of the past, and then bring it throughout the years until we get right back to where we are now, to the present day. So from this day forth, I don't know the frequency at which the War Thunder story times will be uploaded. I don't know how many of them are going to be created within the 52 weeks of 2023, which is obviously the series that I've done this year, that I've selected for this year, that is already consuming quite a certain portion of my time, as I have to record one video per week that has a relevant title, that has the relevant information with which hopefully you, but also myself, I can go back and look at this content to make sure that I'm on track for my own personal journey and hopefully your journeys as well. And for that purpose, I thought we have to start at the beginning. We have to start where things begun, and that's with the name. And whilst this story isn't going to be very exhilarating or very long or very elaborate, it is going to be a bit of a rundown memory lane for me. You see, it all began in 2012 when I took a bit of a hiatus from gaming. I quit RuneScape at the time, and I didn't have a computer for like, I want to say 6 months. Then my buddy JJ, which everybody knows very well from all those days when we were streaming, he suggested that I go and play War Thunder. And when I joined, I was instantly hooked by the game. But I wasn't playing under the same name as you may know me today. In fact, I think I had 2 different names, and I'm going to have a hard time recalling what exactly they were. But truth of the matter is that the name theOrangeDoom was born because of a plane. And that plane remains my favourite plane of all time in War Thunder, and it is the BF-109 Messerschmitt Model G10. It was the first Messerschmitt that you unlock that had a bit of a different camouflage. It sort of stood out from the other Messerschmitts. It was also one of the few planes that I believe even back then had an unlockable camouflage that you could buy. You see, War Thunder's biggest problem when it began, when it was just planes, when it was just, well, back when realistic battles were still called historical battles. Back then, the game was a different place, and customizability was very limited. There was no market for trading skins. There were only a limited amount of decals in the game, and most of the decals were historically based. You know, the Kreuz the Germans have, the star that you'd see on Russian planes, these emblems which were related to history, which were related to countries. You had flags you couldn't put in your plane. There were these writings and pin girls, but none of them felt that they were going to allow you to create a unique looking aircraft. And one evening, I was sitting in the hangar looking at the BF-19G10 and asking myself, how could I make this plane more unique? I enjoyed flying it, but a part of me wanted to stand out. A part of me wanted to be, dare I say, arrogant and flashy. I think that speaks volumes for what the actual character ended up being. And as I was scrolling through the decals, I noticed there was a category called Common. And under Common, there was a orange circle. And it seemed very, inobtrusive. It was like, it's just a circle. It doesn't mean anything. It's not related to any entity or movement. It's very neutral. And it's not one that I think most people would use, because where are you going to put an orange circle on a plane? Well, the thing is, back in that day, you could make the decals much, much bigger, right? So from that tiny little circle, you could actually cover a vast portion of the plane. And so I played around with it for a couple of minutes, and I realized that there's just no way to make the whole plane orange, ridiculous as that would be. There was no way to play around with the cockpit area or the middle of the plane, because the circle would actually, cut at some point. It was either the whole plane or none at all. I'm a bit of a perfectionist in this way. And as I was playing around, I realized that you could enlarge the circle to fit the entirety of the aileron, one portion of the aileron. I tried the entire tail section. That didn't look that good. I tried the front, just the engine cowling, didn't look good. I tried just the wings, it looked a little bit off. But then, for whatever reason, left wing and left aileron, and as I looked at the plane, I sat back and I was just staring at the screen. And this is because I was a cheapskate. See, back in the day, you could only have, I think it's still the same today. If you don't have premium, you can only have 2 out of 4 decals, meaning I was limited to 2 orange circles, which I think it was the T key on the keyboard. It would make it mirrored, which means you would, have it appear on top and the bottom of the wing and on the aileron. And so this was the perfect setup. This meant that without me paying a single penny, I could still have this on virtually any plane in the game. So I sat there, I was looking at the BF-19G10 in the hangar, and it just clicked. It was as if a voice reached down from somewhere, maybe it was down below, maybe it was from hell, I don't know, but theOrangeDoom was just born in my head, and immediately I changed my name in the game. Immediately I went to create a Gmail account, sign everything up. I don't know if I create a YouTube channel immediately, but definitely I felt like this dream of creating a channel was born the minute that I came up with a name, because everything you ever create has to have a name. There needs to be an entity behind it, and if you're not going to use your real name, then you have to create this alter ego, this persona, and for that it sometimes just takes a coincidence. It just takes a eureka moment, and that for me was a eureka moment. Except I took it a step further. In fact, back then I thought the name was so good, I went out and I created all the colours of Dooms, and that's why the green Doom came to be. And I still have the blue Doom, and there was the red Doom, which was lost because I gave it to a friend, and yellow and brown and white and black and purple probably and pink. If you can think of a colour, I created it, and there is an account with that name somewhere. Most of them I presume I don't even have access to anymore, but I made those accounts because I didn't want anybody to steal them, and I didn't know how far or wide things would go. And there was so many plans, create an army of the Doom army. This was even a movement at some point where we not the most. It was a bit toxic, this movement, but there were dreams, of creating this squadron of just different colors of Dooms, or different channels, or with different themes, and there was definitely dreams, and a lot of them were teenage dreams, or just hoping for something. But I think partially why I keep returning back, why I keep wanting to make content, regardless of how successful or unsuccessful it is because I'm so in love with the name. Because I think what the Orange Doom stands for is such a beautiful depiction such a beautiful combination of words, and it all ties in so seamlessly. And there's more to this story than meets the eye. In fact, the logo is something that we're going to have to take a look at in another episode. There's more to this development of the character. There's these, moments I remember in the past where I was crowned, it was the head-on king, whatever they called it. Like, never head-on orange was one of those things that would be spammed out in chat throughout War Thunder. It creates this almost notoriety, and I think a lot of that was creating the character, and a lot of that was created by the character. And this, looking back at it, it's such a beautiful story that I really, really want to tell it. So, ironically, there's not a lot to the creation of the name, right? It wasn't like this was months of brainstorming or a clever play of words. Really, it was just a simple decal in the game that was put onto a specific plane at the right moment, at the right time, and it just clicked for me, and I came up with the name on the spot, and the rest is history. Now, what I'm going to leave you with today is I'm going to leave you with a very important question. And that question is good because it's going to prompt different answers. And that is, I want to know what you want to hear. I want to know about your stories and your past. I've already read so many comments on the last video. I was blown away by just how much, love and charisma there is, and memories. And that's why I want to delve into my own history, in the sense that, I remember the Mighty Jingles playing the P-38, right, the Lightning, on Battle of Bulge, back when B-17 still existed on that map as AI. See, that is a irremovable, irreplaceable, I cannot delete it from my memory. And I want to use that, right? That's the type of thing where I want to go on YouTube, take that video that he made, just put it as background footage, and tell a story about how that individual, with his playstyle, with his words, with his experiences, was able to create this environment which actually got me, at the time, to go from arcade to realistic battles. And these stories, I think, are worth telling, and revisiting what the game used to look like. Because I said it a long time ago, if War Thunder created a reset, if there was a reset switch where everybody starts from scratch, it's patch 1.0 again, the game starts from ground zero. That despite my convincingly sort of determination, I'm determined never to play video games again. I've sort of moved away from that life, but that would bring me back. And maybe this is me toying with that idea, but toying with what actually happened, with the actual past, because we were there. You, me, all of us. We've been created by this past, and I want to revisit it. I want to create a little trip down memory lane, and I think I'm going to start with the Mighty Jingles, and then I'm going to move on with all the content I can find, all the content that still hasn't been deleted, all the content that's still on there, that still exists, that I think crafted you and me and all of us, and also the game, and also, I think, our present and our futures. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, and safe flying.